You hear it all the time. Africa is behind, offline, excluded. The reality is, we're not offline, we're overexposed. Our data, our lives, our governments, our habits, they are all online, but not here. Not stored in our countries under our laws on our terms. They live in someone else's cloud, on someone else's servers, governed by someone else's idea of value. I am Zainab Taonga Chira, and this is Not Just Observers, an AI governance series brought to you by StrangersX about power, governance, and the political economy of AI from an African perspective. And while we're speaking about alternatives and what I refer to as a third path, right, is building alternatives to what currently exists. And so maybe if you could just perhaps briefly reflect on that and how that has also informed you in terms of how can people working in civic tech reimagine and reproduce alternatives.
Mm. That is the question of the day, Zanab. And I think on reflecting, I suppose I always use either music or poetry to make sense of things sometimes when I don't have answers to them. Um, and I think to speak to what you're speaking about around technology and reimagining um, what it should be, um, we need to really start thinking about, firstly, our languages, right? Um, and this is something I've obsessed about since I was a kind of a junior manager 10, 12 years ago.
Mhm.
When I one day got up and decided to write my first ever opinion piece, when I was observing the world around me, but obviously from a corporate lens, but also with the concern of the communities we live in and the context of Africa around technology. And at the time, if I remember well, that the name of that opinion piece was technology. Can't just be an end in itself.
Mhm.
It's built for people.
Yes.
It's for people to improve their lives. But I think you cannot then improve people's lives when, from an inclusion perspective, you have so many languages excluded from, I'll call it, lack of a better word, the tech ecosystem,
Yes.
right? And I think with that languages, our languages being embedded in these systems, and the system is speaking our languages, we will never realize or be able to really meaningfully reimagine what technology can do for us
Mhm.
as a continent.
Mhm.
Because then, with that barrier of language, it then speaks to a real exclusion in the sense that only a few can access this platform.
Mhm.
We need to reimagine, for me, what access to tech means for marginalized people
Mhm.
and marginalized communities, especially when we speak about the language of civic tech.
Yes.
Because civic tech is meant to resolve, at least, or translate tech innovation into public good.
Mhm.
And what good is an innovation when people can't even understand because it doesn't speak their language, right? Um, we currently, right now, as we sit today, have some ructions politically in this country.
Mhm.
And I think, and I don't want to be political, but I do know for a fact that um, the electorate is not always satisfied with any government for that matter.
Mhm.
And not everyone's needs are met at any given point by government in their totality at any point, which I understand. But that's why then we live in democratic countries where your voice matters
Mhm.
as an electorate, right? And for me, voting is the most basic of civic participation
Yes.
that you can imagine, because then you can not only reimagine the tech that you use, but you can reimagine your country the way you want by voting.
Sure.
Now, again, the opportunities with civic technology around both informing, educating. I mean, we speak about so much about the potential of tech and AI, but those things can never be realized without them speaking the language. And what comes to mind, for instance, is the fact that, you know, in the South African context, Yes, English is one of our official languages, but it's one of a couple, I think about 11 languages, right?
12 now. Yeah.
Sorry, 12 languages. And with that in mind, um, most people above 65, well, not most, but you'll find that a lot of people above 65 do not speak English.
Mm-hmm.
A big chunk of them in this country may not speak English.
Sure.
I don't have the figures, but I know that as a fact from having lived in rural communities where English is not a consideration really,
Mm.
you know. And these people should also be able to meaningfully participate in the democracy. Access technology, be able to participate and vote, but be informed voters when they vote.
Yes.
And when they speak about civic participation and civic tech, for instance, if, for instance, you had maybe let's say some point electronic voting,
Mm-hmm.
those people will be excluded completely from democratic processes.
Mm-hmm.
So when we speak about reimagining tech, really what you need to do is we need to reimagine one, um, how tech is built and how the systems are built and how much we participate when these systems are built. For instance, I think about in the speak comes back to our initial conversation about extraction. Um, you have systems we use that are not built in our context, which is fine because we live in a global environment. But I think when they then come here, there should be efforts to make sure that we find ways and means that we are more inclusive in the access of these platforms through language alone.
Mm-hmm.
There are other dynamics and other different issues that exclude people. But let's just first reimagine tech with the right language, speaking our languages. If we start there,
Mm-hmm.
we can then move from there to other big issues in tech that we can resolve. Let's
Mm-hmm.
start with language.
Absolutely. I think language diversification is a big part of democratizing technology. And I know there's a lot of work that is being done across the continent in the natural language processing or NLP technology community around that of improving the data sets of indigenous African languages. And I think, we have Masakane, we have Lilapa AI, we have Aya Data in
Mm,
Ghana. There's quite a number of, there's the Mozilla as well, initiative as well, Mozilla Voice, I believe. There's a number of these NLP initiatives that are really trying to work on this, but I think
mm,
they certainly need more galvanization and more people. An informed public who see the value in these
mm,
technologies and initiatives when they do reach out to communities to say, hey, we would like your help in terms of improving and fact checking these data sets. Of course, this has to be compensated. You cannot
mm,
just exploit people without
mm,
compensating them fairly. And so
mm,
there's also ethics around that. But I think it's really encouraging to see that work and important in the fact that it's actually being prioritized by a lot of African countries. So that's really
mm,
exciting.
mm.
Pilani, I think we can stay here and talk for a long time. If anything, it's a testament that this is an ongoing conversation. We can consider this as part one, as almost introductory, because I think we touched on so many things that really they require their own respective deep dives. Really excited to continue this dialogue and to support each other, different initiatives and work. And it's exciting, affirming, and comforting to see to see organizations that really mean what they say. And so yeah, so really congratulations with the work that you're doing at Tech4Good, and just even your approach as well as a collaborator. I must say, just personally, thank you so much, Pilani. So thank you for sharing your time and insights with me,
Uh,
with our with our listeners. And yeah, do you want to say something?
no, no, I just was saying thank you so much for having me. I appreciate your time as well. And I think I'm really excited about what Strangers X is doing around the discourse in tech, discourse in AI, and a very, very important discourse of that. So We do appreciate you as a platform and the work you are doing in diversifying voices within both the tech and the AI space. So thank you to you too.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think for me, what has stood out from this conversation is just the clarity on the need for technology that responds to context, to real people, real communities, and real challenges. So, if anything, and I speak to both myself and I think even just to the audience, is that this conversation should remind us that Tech for Good is not just a slogan. It's a commitment to constant reflection and accountability and care. So, to our listeners, if today's conversation stirred something in you, you have a question, a challenge, or even a sense of possibility, please drop a comment in the comment section, subscribe, and reach out to us. Our DMs are always open. You can always feel free to email as well. Share this conversation, talk to it. So until next time, thank you for listening to Strangers X.